I'm president of Collinwood, Joel Sage for YouTube and BitChute. This is across 2 platforms now. So my guest, my lovely guests are Christine Pierce, Cara Tillitz from Between the Shadows, a Dark Shadows podcast. How are you, ladies?
Oh, great.
Doing so good. How are you, Jewel?
I'm doing good. I'm not crazy yet.
That's
So
right.
according to me, if you ask Julie, she'll tell you, yeah, he's nuts. But but we're here to discuss Adam and the Dream Curse because they go together like fine wine and
Yes.
cheese. Ask there, David, Professor Stokes. So this is really interesting. You get the introduction of Dr. Eric Lane, who is going to be our mad scientist here. This is very much taken from Victor Frankenstein's creation, if you will. What did you ladies think of this?
I mean, it was in Dan Curtis fashion for sure to do this and to reinterpret it in his own way. And I thought it was genius. Like, it worked so well. Like, the Adam storyline was so good. So good.
I think that there's a lot of like negativity surrounding Addison Powell because he's very, very what's the right word? Exuberant and what is that's not the right word though that I was looking for. He's very extravagant in his playing of Dr. Eric Lang, but I thought he was excellent. Like to play a mad scientist, I think it needed somebody who was extravagant and eccentric, the way the actors put it in some of their interviews. You know, it's like you have these eccentric characters, but you need eccentric people to play them. And I thought Addison Powell was like exactly correct.
Julia was really our first mad scientist here, but with the kind of the distraction of Barnabas and the kind of eventually falling in love with him, Eric Lang was really nice to have as backup as that mad scientist. Like, it was very good timing.
I think the biggest difference here too, with like you just pointed out that Julia fell in love with Barnabas. That's the thing. Like when people talk about Doctor the other doctor who got killed by Barnabas, but Dr.
Woodard.
Yeah, Dr. Woodard. Thank you. Out of like a big brain fart there. Before Dr. Woodard, long before Dr. Woodard's death, he points this out. He goes, "Come on, Julie, I could tell you have feelings for Barnabas." He's right.
He called it right out.
Immediately.
It's like unless you are completely lost in dark shadows, you see that hey, she's a woman, he's a man, she wants to be with him, and it's like
lost in those dark shadows.
She did. She's like, yes, I want to cure him, but I want him to marry me too. She doesn't care about no curse. She doesn't, though. I will say this: Barnabas is very more. He's to me a lot more doubtful of Julia than he is of Eric Lane. But I think the reason is because he's learned his lesson of doubting one, than the other.
And I think the moment where Barnabas was like, "Okay, I trust you," was when he could stand in broad daylight and his hands not shrivel up, and he can actually look at the sun and not, shrivel away and burn away. And he's like, "Okay, who are you and what did you do to me?" It was like, I trust you because this hasn't happened in 200 years. What did you do?
And that kind of moment with him, with Julia, was kind of like that moment where she was like, if I don't give you your injections, this is going to fail. Like, you're going to shrivel up, dude. And when he did, he was like, I'm not messing around. She's not messing around. It's for real. Like, even though they were kind of beefing at the time, like he really realized the importance of what was going on here with himself and these experiments.
I have a fun question for you on this. Who do you if you could pick one person to be your grave robber, would it be A, Jeff Clark, B, Willie Loomis, C, Joe Haskell, or D, Dr. Guffrey?
In the perspective of who, or does it matter? Like, if you're Barnabas, or are you Dr. Lang, or does it matter?
It doesn't matter.
I honestly, off the top of my head, I would go with Willie Loomis because he has the most loyalty, I would say.
That is true, but when he did have to do the grave robbing, he needed a lot of persuasion and convincing.
Yeah.
So my pick is Dr. Guthrie because if we remember the Laura story arc, he was like, I need help. I'm going to go dig up this grave, but I need help. Like he didn't, like nobody told him, hey, you've got to go, you know, he had his own agenda, and part of his agenda was to go and dig up Laura's grave. So I picked Dr. Guthrie because Dr. Guthrie just did it without.
He did it himself. He did the work himself.
And Joe Haskell is a little too knight in shining armor for that. And Jeff Clark, I think, is a little too.
He didn't even know himself. So
yeah,
and he was obeying orders on some kind of lie, you know, like
some kind of black false.
He didn't even
blackmail.
know who he was, like,
right? So.
Just on what's it called? Blackmail.
Yeah,
like blackmail. But like Willie, I choose Willie. But I agree with you. What do you think, Joel?
I like Willie. Like if we're going right as Barnabas like enslaves Willie to be his servant, I'm going Willie Loomis all day because John Carlin digging up a grave is priceless. I'll give you my close second simply because he does it strictly out of. Speaking of loyalty, you talk about loyalty to the Collins family and somebody who does something for Elizabeth Collins' daughter, Joe Haskell.
Joe Haskell, yes.
Because Carolyn says, "Don't do it for me, do it for my mother," and he does it. And even though when he gets asked to do it at first, he's like, "You want me to what?"
But then he's like, "But yeah."
I mean, if you think it's a good idea, I'll do it.
Right.
So, but with the Adam arc, we get Jeff Clark as our local grave digger, which I love. Anytime you can have somebody dig up a grave in any story arc, it's just pure fun. And I love how they show off the arm too. Like when you see the reveal of the severed arm before we get the completion of Adam. What did you think of that?
That was one of those what moments.
It's like, are they really gonna Frankenstein it here?
Yeah.
Like
because what Eric Lang has been working on has been so obscure up until now. And then Jeff Clark's I'm so sorry.
The kitty cat.
Okay.
I have baby kitties.
But I've had Cat's guest star on here, so that's
well, this is Freddie.
Welcome, Fred.
he's one half of George and Fred from Harry Potter. But
by Eric Lang.
I'm sorry. Thank you. You made me lose my train of thought. But what Eric Lang was working on was so obscure up until this point. Like it was so like vague, and we didn't know exactly. It's like, I have a permanent cure. Okay, what's the permanent cure?
Yeah.
And we were asking that question for episodes and episodes.
It's still very vague and secret up till so long.
And then Jeff Clark walks in with the arm. He's like, "Oh, it's perfect, a perfect specimen," and it's just a bloody arm sitting there.
It's like, is that what you're up to? That's what you're up to?
It's like, are you building him a new body?
Oh my gosh.
Honestly, the first time I watched it, I still didn't get the message with the severed arm. I'm like, okay, what could he possibly be doing?
Yeah.
But
yeah. God.
I was also 15 at the time, so my mind was young.
But they went there, and I was like, wow.
Totally.
So good though. God.
I would have loved to have seen Dark Shadows when Dark Shadows comes back, when Mark B. Perry's series happens.
Come on, baby.
I want them, instead of doing the Frankenstein, they got to go Reanimator. They got
yes.
Yeah.
That would be awesome.
Yeah. I mean, that's how you do it in this modern time. That's how you bring that period piece into this modern world, like, and still do it right.
Yeah.
Like, and keep the true feel of Dark Shadows.
Definitely.
Like
I think that's totally believable.
Yeah.
Inject the green into the semi. He's only been dead 5 minutes.
Right.
Yes.
Right. Man, that's a good one, Joel.
Yes. What did you think of that? I do agree with you. Addison Powell sort of gets, and Robert Rodin too, they sort of get a bad rap, but they were phenomenal in this.
They really were.
Man.
They absolutely were.
It's those actors that you wish they would have reused for somebody else. Like they were that dynamic and that what's the words? Impressionable on all of us, I think. Like
Robert Rodin never came back, and it was like, but why? You know? Because he was I felt like he could have been used. his talent not better served, because we definitely needed Adam for that storyline, and he killed it.
Yes.
But I feel like, you know, we could have gotten him for something else too. I mean, even Dennis Patrick, who played Jason McGuire, came back for another one other role.
Stoddard. Really, Paul Stoddard?
I know
that blew my mind.
Still reeling over that.
I still reel over that. But what was I gonna say? But like we were talking about it in the car this morning. But like people that weren't recycled. Another one was David Ford.
Yeah.
He played. Yeah.
Well, I know he played Josette's dad and everything, but man, but yeah,
agreed.
Lang and Adam were so dynamic and so impressionable that I wish they had more time.
Right.
Yeah. I think again, this is something I've talked about with everybody, I think including you guys too, that we've never Dark Shadows is sort of pre-spin-off era. Whereas in the late 70s, 80s, we're getting spin-off of this, that, and that. But
yes,
if Dark Shadows had sort of been made like 10 years later, 15 years later, we would have seen the spin-off of Adam.
Definitely.
Like the spin-off of Don Briscoe's character, Chris Jennings. We would have seen those spin-offs happen. But we don't get that. Now you could imagine what those would have looked like for sure as fans.
Yeah.
And there's so many stuff they could have done, you know, because there's so many stories there. But
I always imagine that's sort of like if Dark Shadows, the first to me potential ever Dark Shadows spinoff was technically, though she doesn't leave, if she would have left, would have been Carolyn. If Jason would have gotten to leave instead of being killed by Barnabas, and then if Carolyn would have followed him, there's your potential first spinoff, because here's Carolyn. Who's she looking for? Her dad, to sort of pay him back for all the, stuff he did to her mom. And then she finds out there's this whole other, con artist world that her dad's a part of. Would have been holy shit.
Definitely.
Yeah. That really would have been a good side for Carolyn to go in search of, leave Collinwood and kind of go in search of.
Definitely.
Her dad kind of, that would have been really cool to see. But she was concerned over it like the entire time we knew her. She's like, where's my dad? Who's my dad? Like, what happened? That would have been cool to see.
Yeah, because she doesn't, that's the thing, she doesn't leave. Sorry, I'm getting off topic. But with Adam and first Addison Powell, Dr. Eric Lane, he tells Barnabas, the injections are working less and less during the arc, and he shows him the experiment. He shows him what's going to be Adam. He goes, you will no longer need your body. Your soul will be in this body, is an initial explanation. Mm-hmm. So we know they're not going to write Jonathan Frid off the show.
Not a chance.
Yeah.
But I always thought this part of the Adam arc, the early part of it, was really interesting. I'm thinking, are they really going to somehow not have Jonathan and have, because again, Robert Rodan be the lead? That would have been amazing to me.
Like it, the way Lang was putting it always kind of twists my brain a little bit, but just to clear my mind, like it was kind of like a Freaky Friday thing, right? Like Barnabas would look like Adam, but it was Barnabas inside, right? It would kind of be like reversed. Is that what it was supposed to be like?
Yeah, like Barnabas's mind would have been inside Lang's creation, and Barnabas's body would just be dead, I would assume.
So what, like you were saying, are they really going to take Jonathan Frid off and Robert Rodan's going to stay? Okay, I want to clear my mind. It always twists my mind up.
Because he tells Victoria, he goes, I have to leave. I have businesses in London. Yeah. And so my other cousin, my relative Adam will show up. And it's just like, wait, didn't you say you were the last one?
Yes.
We were saying that, really. You just explained in full that you were the last living relative overseas. How are you going to play this off?
We asked this question to Patrick McRae when we had him on for the Halloween special, and I'm like, what are your thoughts on it? And he was like, oh, they would have painted another picture, and or Barnabas would have had Sam Evans paint another picture, and Roger would have acted like he knew exactly, oh yes, this is Adam Collins, you know, and Roger would have acted like he knew exactly who it was, and then, you know, the family would have bought it somehow. And
Yeah.
so I don't know. I think I like that explanation the best, because he's right. Roger is such a pompous jerk sometimes. He would have played along like, oh yes, Adam Collins. You remember our ancestor, Adam Collins.
Just to keep face for the family name.
So
yeah.
That's one explanation, right? But
you really want to see Addison Powell too at his best with Dr. Eric Lang, and how crazy he really is when he pulls the gun on Barnabas.
yes.
Oh.
He's like, I will shoot you.
Like, just
I will
kill his own project.
Yeah. He's like, you find me a man who's willing to basically die and be your guinea pig. It might not work, you know.
Man,
that was incredible. And I'm like, I sort of believed him that he would, but at the same time, I didn't think that he actually would do it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, this project, like Julia, I mean, this discovery was so vital and so important. Kill your own project?
Oh,
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, the fact that he pulls a gun on Barnabas and is willing to shoot him, I'm thinking, man, if you aren't convinced that Addison Powell's Dr. Eric Lang is completely crazy, this is it. This is your convincing.
I always thought Dr. Lang was a touch crazy.
Yes.
And he leaves that crazy right there on his shoulder, and it always rears its ugly head.
we touched on that when we were talking about Lang. It was like, he is like ultimate, like not even Julia, like, but
ultimate mad scientist.
He went there. Like, he was mad.
Like there was, I feel like if we had gotten Eric Lang for longer than we did, and I kind of wish we did.
Yeah.
Because I would have loved to have seen what Dr. Lang was capable of.
Yeah.
Because I mean, he didn't take it across the finish line, as Patrick McRae pointed out, but he did all of the groundwork to bring.
That's why it was successful, because of Lang's journals.
Yeah, his all
he
the
was there.
groundwork.
He did succeed. He just physically
didn't see it live.
Right to the very end, he just couldn't actually physically do it because he died.
If Cassandra hadn't been messing around, he would have lived to see his project live.
But it worked. His research was right, and it worked. And
I would have liked to have seen what would have happened if Eric Lang had been alive when Eve was created. I would have liked to have seen that. I mean, Julia did a fantastic job, but
I mean, because we only got so much information, I want to know what Julia did this much different for Eve to be so beautiful and not marred in the face, you know, like.
Tells you Julia is a pretty excellent surgeon herself.
I mean, she's a mad scientist too. She is. It's just her and Lang were on kind of opposite ends of the spectrum, like dealing with it. I don't know.
I would have liked to have seen another collab between the two of them.
Man, if they were working together.
If they've been working together, who knows? Who knows? I don't know.
But yeah.
Let's pick the most beautifulest woman on the planet. Let's go, Marie Wallace.
Happy birthday, Marie
Wallace.
Happy birthday. Gotta talk about her.
Most beautiful on the planet.
Happy birthday, Marie Wallace. I mean, my only ever issue with Marie's characters is they're never on long enough, and I love them to death.
I agree.
Yeah,
and she. I mean, she was phenomenal in every role that she played, and every role that she played was different.
Man,
you know,
like
Eve was evil, pure evil. Danielle Roget, and then she played Crazy Jenny, and she played a crazy Jenny so well. And then she played just a regular old Joe lady, Megan Todd.
I loved her the most as Megan Todd, probably because she was just so real and regular.
Yeah.
And she did not deserve that.
No, she didn't deserve it. And then she got to be a vampire, a whole new character. And that was cool too.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, I completely agree with you. She should have gotten more screen time. She should.
We'll have. I want to bring these back on. We definitely got to get into Megan Todd, the Todds. That is.
Yes. I'm ready.
But with this, I really love how Addison Powell is introduced, and he's not. There are many characters who are sort of pre-introduced by voiceovers and stuff.
Right.
Not the case with Addison Powell's Dr. Eric Lang here. He comes in, and he pulls back, he says, oh, and Barnabas sees that he now can stand in the light because of some injections.
Right.
Really, really cool. And so we don't know when we first meet him, we don't know quite yet he's a mad scientist. What did you think of his introduction in Dark Shadows?
It's like you said, like he didn't really have any preemptive or premeditated introduction for like he just showed up immediately. And before he really even showed up in the hospital room, Julia got the call at Colin one saying, hey, Barnabas is in the hospital, whatever. So, I mean, the next scene, we expect Julia to be rushing into his hospital room and taking care of everything. But we see Lang just, hello, I'm Dr. Lang, this and that. I know this about you and this and this. And it's like, what?
He seems like a very fantastic, thorough doctor, even before he opens his mouth to say anything personal about himself. Like he does the regular doctor thing. Nurse, did you get the blood transfusion? He's looking at the chart. He's looking at Barnabas's clothes and how much blood was he brought in with? I mean, where's the blood, and just asking all the normal doctor questions. And then, he goes to check on Vicky, he's being a regular old doctor
making his rounds.
And then the nurse comes running in. Doctor, we need you. They're trying to move Mr. Collins. And he's like, oh shit.
Yeah.
So
who's
trying to move it? And then he comes in and Julia's on the phone trying to get an ambulance. And then we see Eric Lang.
Yeah.
And we're like, okay, I see what you did.
But when he walks in, Julia's like, yeah, they know. It's like they know each other. It's like, no,
it's like,
Julia,
Eric,
you're not taking this away from me. He's mine.
I love how Addison, like he's like the boss in that whole scene. I love Grayson Hall, but Addison really takes charge in that.
Yeah, stood his ground.
And he uttered, my favorite part of that whole scene is when he goes, well, what name would you give this condition for your patient? She was like, oh, I don't know. It's some blood disease. I haven't come up with a name. He was like, I've got one. How about vampire? And she was like, what?
All the blood just drains from her face.
Oh my gosh. Oh, I love it.
Well, yeah. But...
And she was like, those are your words, not mine.
You said it, not me.
One of the best back and forth between two doctors you'll ever see in television history.
Agreed.
Man.
It was fantastic.
It was so good.
My balls are bigger. Nope, vampire.
It was like a showdown of the mad scientists right there.
It was perfect. It was perfect.
A friend of mine had asked me, well, would the Shadow have recruited Dr. Lang as one of his agents? I'm like, oh, no. The Shadow would have capped his ass.
He totally would have.
I'm like, Lang would have been dead.
Yes.
Like you just said real quick, but can you imagine if we had Lang instead of Julia? Everything that happened after all that, like everything Julia went through with Barnabas, like through time and everything. I couldn't imagine Lang being there and not Julia dealing with this shit with Barnabas.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
I don't think Lang really went past the hospital and the experiments. Like Julia like took it to that personal level. Yeah, she was in love with him and everything, but she was a friend first.
Yeah.
Not just his doctor.
And loyal to a fault.
But I couldn't imagine Lang being there and not Julia going through all the other stuff.
So I mean, I guess I understood why they killed off his character, because eventually, Barnabas didn't need him anymore. However, if Eric Lang had stayed alive, we wouldn't have had to go through the whole entire dream curse, hearing that message and not having them hear it. The most vital piece of information.
And they never heard it.
They never heard it.
Yeah, that was frustrating.
You both know, you ladies both know, you enjoy the melody.
Oh, absolutely.
We sing it. I can't stop singing it. Every time we talk about Dr. Lang.
I didn't have Julie make that my ringtone. Like,
Totally.
Yeah. But I really like how you're right. There's a lot of people who are going to get affected by the dream curse. Now, to be fair, Lang doesn't get killed by the dream curse. He gets killed because, this is what happens when you don't believe in a witch or witchcraft.
Yes.
Because I love how my favorite part about Addison Powell, Dr. Eric Lang, is when Barnabas is telling them about the witch, he's like, witch? I'm like, dude, you believe in vampires. What?
Exactly. It's like you believe in vampires, but not witches.
But you can't believe that there's a real witch with witchcraft and magic.
He's like, your affliction isn't because of a curse. It's scientific. Is like, the hell it is.
Barnabas is lucky that science was there for him.
Yeah.
But you can't believe in a witch, but you can believe in a vampire?
Right. Right.
I love what the writers do, though, too. In every sense, they're setting up the ultimate versus science versus magic. And
Absolutely.
It's really rarely done in horror, and it gets done here in Dark Shadows, and it's beautiful to watch.
Yes.
Oh, how it unfolds and how, oh my gosh.
Because that's the thing too. The best part about before we get Adam to life, before we get Robert or Dan up around and walking and learning to talk, and our buddy Patrick McRae, he asked me, he goes, "How do you think they taught Adam potty training?" And here's the thing. I literally was thinking about how he goes, "You could tell you're a parent and you've potty trained your kids." I'm like, yes.
I was running it through my head just now.
It's like, how would that work? Like a child.
Like I in my lifetime, that used to be my job, like way back in the day, like to potty train little ones, and I potty trained 3 of my own, but I draw the line at potty training a grown man. I will get your butt some Depends.
Thank you, God, for Sam Evans and Professor Stokes.
Right.
Real men raising this man-child.
I said to Patrick, I said, I think their David's character, Professor Stokes, taught him the potty training.
Yeah.
I can't get it out of my mind now.
I know. I'm gonna be thinking about that all night.
I'm like, see, Patrick, I was sitting there in the bathroom with my son while he was going to the bathroom to make sure he would go to the potty.
Uh-huh.
But he shook his head at me. I'm like, what? That's not.
But that's what had probably happened. 2 grown men in the bathroom together to make sure you go to the bathroom. It's like, no, how you do it.
The only difference is Professor Stokes probably bought some wine and some cheese in the bathroom. He didn't go in. He didn't go in empty-handed like I did.
No.
So.
Pass the cheese and sherry.
It's like you bribe your kids with like M&Ms to go to the bathroom. It's like, here's some wine.
Right. Like if you go to the bathroom and you do everything correctly, I will give you this.
Yes. That's how you
factor.
Do it. The bribing works.
It does. And that was probably Adam as well. Like we don't see it, but we can imagine, well, what was Adam's reward? It was probably something sweet or candy.
It might have been a chicken leg.
Yes, it might have been.
It
very well might have been. Really. So what did you think of now Professor Stokes and the Roger Clark, or not Professor Stokes, but the Dr. Eric Lane and Roger Davis, Jeff Clark, who is his assistant, and he, because of meeting Vicky, because of falling in love with Vicky tells him, you're Peter Bradford, we're getting the love story angle. He asked Barnabas what face you want on Adam, and he goes, can you give me Jeff Clark's face? And he goes, yes. How important is it for Barnabas to say no, let him go?
It to anybody, it meant the world to Vicky. It meant the most important to Vicky, and that's all Barnabas cared about was Vicky.
Yeah.
And that said everything. And that if your feelings were a little iffy on the cliff with Barnabas and like his approach to things, whether like Barnabas is a hesitant vampire. Like he's a hesitant person because that's not who he is. But that was one of the ultimate points of being a human
and selflessness.
Still being a human in himself, that he did it for somebody else. He didn't take Jeff Clark as much as he would have. He's like, I'll do it. But he thought of somebody else and said no. Like that was one of the ultimate human moments for Barnabas, and
definitely
so respectful. Like made you love him, and I'm glad that came early.
Like definitely, no, it definitely like showed how how much he had changed since Dr. Lang's experiment, because when Julia was doing her injections, his personality didn't change that much, I don't think.
And real quickly, and he wasn't that gracious when he was dealing with Maggie.
No,
you saw, that was the huge change. Like, he wasn't hesitant at all. He was like, yeah, she's going to be Josette. Here we go. But with this situation, continue.
I think again, like with Julia's injections, I don't think there wasn't much humanity there. It was all about, when can you cure me, and I'm ready to be human. But he never acted
so human. He could get on with his plans.
Yeah, he never acted human with Julia. But and we've seen up until this point, Barnabas as a vampire manipulating and using every single person to his advantage. And when they got in his way, he killed them, like Dr. like Dave Woodard. And
well, him and Julia were still at odds when Lang kind of came into the picture, and thank God for Lang, because him and Julia might not have made up.
Right. He was loving towards David too, but then when David got in his way, I'm gonna have to go kill David. And everybody, he was.
It didn't stop him from biting Carolyn. He didn't think twice about biting Carolyn.
There was a very there's a very manipulative time for Barnabas as a vampire, especially just before 1795, and then Eric did what he did, and then Barnabas actually, I think his injections were better than Julia's. I think he had more resources at hand.
Definitely. Definitely.
But then Barnabas, loved Vicky and would do anything for Vicky. And I think this is the first time since Josette or ever that he's ever felt that way towards another human being. And I think more than wanting Jeff Clark's face so that Vicky would love him, he would just rather see her happy.
He just wanted him out of the picture. That's why he said that.
Right.
But then he thought twice.
And it was a knee-jerk reaction.
He made the right choice not doing it.
So I don't. There was a lot of. I guess you could call that character development for Barnabas, but
that's that gentleman he always was. The gentleman we saw him greet Vicky in 1795. But that was that gentleman.
But
that
even
he is.
Even in 1795, when he wasn't the Barnabas that we knew in 1960s, he was still doing everything he could for Vicky, even when he was a vampire,
helping others before himself.
So I think I don't know. This is like my time travel loving brain. It's like there has always been a connection between Vicky and Barnabas, whether it was 1795 Barnabas or 1967 Barnabas.
Whether it was friendship, romantic, whatever.
It was always Vicky.
They were soulmates in some way, shape, or form.
It was always Vicky. So
the Barnabas we all know and love from 1795 he's a man of his word.
Yes.
And
so
Yinza pointed this out on a podcast too. That's another reason I brought that up, and it's because of this. When Angelique says, "I can cure Sarah," he goes, "Will you marry me? I give you yes, I promise. I'll give you my word." Yes, and she does, and he keeps his word.
Yes,
you can get into the debate of love or not, but there still is a wedding in the old house.
Yeah. Oh yes. Yes.
But it comes down to Barnabas. And being so unselfish.
And being true to his word. Being a man of his word. I think you're absolutely right, Joel.
And that's the thing, too, with Jeff Clark. He's already realized how much Vicky is in love with Jeff Clark. Yes. And if he makes the decision to cut Jeff Clark's face off of... Basically, the Adam arc is it's going face off before Face Off, the movie Face Off.
Literally Face Off.
Right. And it really asks the question, will Barnabas kill Jeff Clark here? Will he say, okay? And no, he doesn't. And it's because if I do this, I'm no better than that witch who cursed me.
Yes.
Oh, Jewel.
He says the time has come for me to say enough. And it's you that Vicky wants, so I'm gonna let he undoes the way he undoes the straps, like it's like you can just see his spirit falling, but at the same time it's like I cannot do this.
It was so profound. It was one of those very profound moments of the show.
Definitely.
Like, oh my God.
It's one of those ones I watch over and
if I'm by myself, I cry when I see that part. I do. Like, it brings me to tears because it's moving. Pure and moving and genuine. Like, stop it. The writing was so good. The acting was so good.
Do you need a tissue?
But it was one of those profound moments, man.
Oh no, it was perfect.
I want you to know now, Cara, I cannot edit. I can't edit out makeup running
I mean, you've already done it twice today.
Thank you. Thank you. I'll stop. I'll stop.
I can't even do that. So.
I'm not, because I'm not a great I've never knew how to edit videos. Because that was the question my wife asked me when I started the channel. She goes, "What the hell are you gonna do? You don't know how to edit videos." I'm like, "I'm just gonna do it edit free."
We're going raw dog, baby. Like
I love that, Jill. That's one of the reasons I watch your show, because I love all the rawness and the candidness. I freaking love it.
We're still real people, guys.
I know. It's like, you hear my face, here's my face, and the way I actually act.
Last night we're talking about pro wrestling on the Prisoner podcast. Like, Jesus. But with the Adam Art / Dream Curse, we're having a very interesting situation. While we have, Adam sort of on the table, not brought to life yet, the Dream Curse is going to happen. What happens is we have the portrait of Angelique bought by our lovely Victoria winners at an antique shop. Here's a question for you, Beth.
Okay.
What, though they're not said, was it the Todd's Antique Shop?
Oh,
I have often wondered that, because she was like, I've got to go into town before the shop closes, and we know the Todds close their shop kind of early, like when the sun goes down, the carpet rolls or the sidewalk rolls up.
Yeah, it's like a small town. They probably close up at sundown.
I like to think it was.
I will say this, and correct me if I'm wrong, but when Carolyn first came, her and Vicky were shopping, or Carolyn, I think, was by herself or whatever, and she stopped by the antique shop by herself when the Todds were in town. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like she maybe somehow kind of mentioned that, oh, there's this new antique shop in town. New. I might be wrong on the word new.
But when we see her in that antique shop, she acts like she already knows the Todds. So it's very hard to tell. No, I think
I feel like she had been there a couple of times before she actually said it to like Vicky or whatever, and then she brought Vicky with her.
Maybe you're right.
But I feel like she might have said it was a new shop in town, but I'm not 100%. I'm like 90%.
Maybe the Todds.
I don't know.
I don't.
It's a good question. It's a good question because it wasn't.
When we revisit the Leviathan arc, and we go back and watch it before we come back on and do a revisit tour.
It would mean
we're gonna so pay attention to that.
Yes,
yeah, it would mean a lot. It would make my brain turn in a different way here if that was the Todd shop that early on in the show.
Yeah,
I'm like, everything that happened between this before we actually met the Todds.
Yeah,
like it makes you like go on a totally different bunny trail. I'm like, that's interesting.
But this buying the painting with Vicky is not the first time that she was compelled to take a painting.
Yeah.
It's not. I mean, the first time was with Sam Evans when he started painting a woman in fire, and Vicky was like, I kind of want this. Can I have it?
No, it wasn't even that. It was the girl that looked like her.
Yeah.
True, Betty Hanscom.
Thank you, yes. Betty Hanscom. That was the portrait.
You're right. Okay, all right.
Yeah, but you are right. But you are right.
It's happened.
It wasn't the first time she had interest in art.
You're right, but like that compulsion to take a painting. Barnabas was like before she revealed what it was. It's like, oh, well, why'd you buy it? I don't know. I just felt like I had to.
I just felt compelled. Yeah,
but
one a great guest recommendation for your channel.
Yes.
With Portraits and Dark Shadows, John Philip Betancourt.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now that we found ourselves with time, we're going to start making allotments for guests, and
we're finding our silver lining and being unemployed, and this is it.
Definitely.
My wife's employed. I'm not, so I'll continue my podcast.
We're trying to take as most advantage as we can right now.
Yes, most definitely.
Yes.
But with this, we see the lovely Laura Parker's portrait brought in. Here's Angelique.
Yeah.
And Barnabas sees that portrait, and if looks could kill a portrait.
Oh yes. Angelique. And then Elizabeth doesn't get it. She goes, she is very angelic, isn't she?
No, she's a witch.
He actually says it. I think he's the one who says Angelique Collins, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
And they're like, there's no Angelique Collins.
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
Yeah, Roger was like, there's no Roger, the one who knows the family history. There's no Angelique Collins.
Yeah. Yeah.
if you want an accuracy update, Roger's your man.
Yeah.
Hit him up.
Yeah. But he would have bought Adam Collins. He would have. I bet you anything.
And you know what? If it's not Roger, I will get David.
Yeah.
David knows
David
that.
would have known too.
Like that book of family portraits, he knew his homework on that one too.
Definitely.
Yeah.
David is the one. Now, it's not John Carlin's Willie Loomis, but it is Willie Loomis. David shows Willie Loomis the portraits. This is Jeremiah. This is Isaac, and that's when we first meet Barnabas's portrait.
That's right. That's right.
So that's, again, really great episode to watch too. But with this, Roger goes MIA. He goes missing.
Yes.
So on a scale of 1 to 10, how shocked are you that Roger comes back with a blushing new bride?
Oh my gosh.
I mean, I'm actually kind of shocked because it wasn't too long before that we just got over this Laura and Bert crap.
Yeah.
And we've never known Roger to be a romantic guy, and he doesn't act like it either. And the whole crap with Laura, you're like, oh, he kind of has that attitude. Oh, I'm never going back to that, and that's why he acts like that. In my perspective, that's why he's so bitter beans and like.
And he only married Laura so she wouldn't tell on him.
Right. It was kind of like a blackmail marriage.
Yeah.
But I was actually kind of shocked. I was like, really? I didn't expect an elope from Roger at all. Maybe from Carolyn, but not Roger.
The eloping by itself was very uncharacteristic for Roger. And then when he brings this woman in that
he was gone for what, like 2 weeks or something?
Like Trask says, the devil's painted your hair black, but we know who you are.
Yeah. Yeah.
We know exactly who you are.
And he's all of a sudden this different person with a wife and loving and chipper, and it was weird.
The last time I saw him that bright and chipper was was when they came back from the verdict on Bill Malloy's death that was the accidental drowning.
Yeah.
He goes, Liz, I just had to come home from work, and he was just so happy. It's like, it was an accidental drowning, not a homicide. That was the last time I saw Roger that happy.
Yeah. Yeah. It's very uncharacteristic for him, and we're like, what's up?
It's like, a man is still dead, bro. Why are you so happy?
Because it wasn't me.
Yeah, it wasn't me. But
yes, you're not guilty, but there's still a corpse here.
It's hardly the story.
There's always a corpse at Widow's Hill.
I know, there's always a body to bury or to dig up.
But it kept the show going.
You could put a sign on Widow's Hill. Please stay away. No one's reading that sign. It's like the sign it's like the sign at the beach where Jaws was at. Don't go in the water. Everyone's in the water.
Oh yeah.
I gotta tell you, I'm gonna commit Dark Shadows craziness here and defend Cassandra here. I don't feel Cassandra's Angelique when she comes in the door.
Okay.
I feel that Cassandra becomes Angelique once she starts staring in that portrait. She's all by herself, and then Angelique takes possession of her.
That is a really good perspective, because I never thought of that at all until you just said it. But that is a good perspective.
Damn you, Jewel! Did you just think of this? I love that though. Like, why couldn't I think of that?
Like, that's what gets me stopped
perfect.
talking. You get me thinking. I'm like,
I love that.
I never thought of that, but that is really good.
But that is so perfect. It is so perfect.
Because what's Cassandra try to protect? She tries to protect the portrait.
True.
Yeah, yes.
Very true.
Yes. That's a really good perspective.
Holy crap.
She blinds Sam Evans.
Yeah.
Because when she sees the portrait, all of a sudden the portrait's controlling her.
Yeah.
Oh, I will throw this out there real quick because before she showed up at Collinwood with Roger, Stokes is the one that really revealed it later on that she was in his class.
Yep.
And it begs the question that we talked about on our show. Did Angelique know that he was a descendant of Ben Stokes? And is that why she kind of made her way into his class to kind of work her way to the Collinses? Because it was made known, like the one that they really prominently mentioned was automatically, oh, Maggie looks like Josette. Mm-hmm. But it wasn't immediate like with Tony Peterson or Stokes. But that's my only question. If she was not aware is that she was in Stokes's class before she showed up at Collinwood. Was that her whole plan?
Well, there's a sort of a weird part of that too, because before Nicholas is ever introduced,
Yeah.
before Humphrey Allen Alfredo's character shows up, when he does show up, Thayer David says to him, "Didn't I see you take that portrait into the antique shop that Vicky bought the antique shop from?" So Nicholas Blair, technically, if you listen to Thayer David talk to him, shows up prior to Cassandra.
Huh. Yeah, I do remember that.
So it's like, okay, was there some sort of, was Cassandra just a physical body creation for Angelique to absorb, to go into, which is possible. I mean, we've got so much magic going on in Dark Shadows.
And because you said that, Joel, that was my kind of other counteract on what I was saying. It was like Nicholas was around before we even really knew it.
Yep.
You're very valid on that. Like, was she just under a spell, like from like Nicholas or something, just to be Cassandra? Like, and she didn't know until she laid eyes on her portrait that it snapped with her.
And when Angelique's Cassandra, when Cassandra goes to Dr. Eric Lang, she doesn't say, "I'm Cassandra Collins." She goes, "I'm Cassandra Blair." So she says, that's sort of your hint. Like, wait, Blair. So we got, there's a lot of hints that Nicholas is sort of he's around before he ever shows up.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah,
definitely.
That's a good point. I'm glad you reminded me of that, because it makes that more valid and more believable, actually.
Yeah, and thinking on, Cassandra was always there, and then she was Angelique when she looked at the portrait. It's got it's got me thinking the power that portrait had on people before Cassandra even showed up.
Oh my God, with Roger.
Like with Roger, he's sitting there quoting I can't remember. I just lost the poet's name, but a poem, and not realizing, like, making him think that he's Joshua Collins and calling people by their 1795 name. I mean, the portrait has power. So, I mean, when Cassandra looked on the portrait, I think it's completely realistic and believable that,
because everybody was enamored and whatever like that.
And Nicholas Blair could have been a name that he picked up because it was Cassandra's last name.
That's not his real name, right? Yeah. Nicholas Blair is not his real name. But yeah,
right. It's the right hand of Satan.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
I mean, they're all. Angelique's not her real name either, so I'm just.
Yeah, it's what, Miranda? Is that her name?
Miranda or something. We're not talking about that, but just to make a point, that's not her real name either.
It's really hard not to bunny trail.
I know. We need to record again.
Angelique's code name in hell was Satan's Little Helper.
Yeah, until she mucked it up and Nicholas got that spot.
It's always a pissing contest, but they acted like siblings, though.
Literally, they acted like sister and brother.
Like Nicholas Blair was always yanking on the ponytails of his little sister, and it was just like, and it's, "Stop it, Nicholas! You never murmur." It's just, that's how it felt.
But kind of in a way, she like envied Nicholas. She wishes she was that powerful.
Yeah, she was always trying to one up.
He really flaunted how powerful he was.
Yeah.
Especially with Angelique. He's like, "Girl, you could be out here in a second. You're only here because of me. You're lucky you're here."
Nicholas Blair stole the show when he came on. It was like, up until now, it's been Angelique's game, Cassandra's game.
That's all we knew.
And then Blair showed up, and we were like,
"There's another one.
There's somebody more powerful than her." Another one? And it was kind of satisfying to see her butt get kicked every now.
Nobody put Angelique in her place until Nicholas came along.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Barnabas tries. He wants to fight magic with black magic. He goes, "We'll fight it," and that's when he employs Sam Evans to paint the portrait.
Yes.
And so our girl Angelique / Cassandra summons her new boy toy, Tony Peterson.
Yes.
I love and she asked about the painter. Do Collins families use any painters? And he names two. And Sam Evans, she finds out that Sam Evans is the father of Maggie Evans, and she kind of puts two and two together. Okay, this is because when Cassandra / Angelique saw Maggie, she thought she saw Josette, which she's our first I won't say victim, but our first dream curse victim, we'll say.
Yeah.
Is Maggie. So she blinds Sam. She begs Sam for the portrait. I won't hurt you. I'll give you more, which I do believe her on that end. I'm with you on that. I listened to the video very carefully. So with this, he goes, oh, I'm not giving it to you, because I don't blame him for not, like, he doesn't know her.
Yeah, it's like, who are you?
Yeah.
Some stranger just wanders in my comes into my house. But she blinds him, steals the portrait. I love David Ford's performance. I can't see. Can't see.
Yeah. Yeah.
And she says, she was like, I thought you'd recognize the face you've been staring at all night. And but her face is all old. He doesn't recognize.
Yeah.
But I mean, maybe he should have, because he's been painting her old all night,
Yeah.
So, but
I mean, he saw how it looked before he started painting.
Yeah.
And he knew how it looked when she walked in. It was supposed to resemble, like.
But Angelique's particular brand of torture. This is her particular brand of torture. This is just the way she operates. We've seen it before.
Yeah,
but she doesn't blind Sam Evans until he picks up that paintbrush.
Until he disobeys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She walks out the door and says, try.
Yeah.
Just try to finish it. And it wasn't until he picked up the paintbrush that he was like, oh crap, I can't see. You know. So.
And I like what you said, like with Maggie / Josette, like because she didn't say it with Tony or what was the other guy? But with Maggie, immediately she was like, oh my gosh, she resembles Josette. And like she said, and kind of like she cursed Barnabas, it's gonna start with Josette / Maggie, and it's gonna end with your demise, Barnabas.
Yeah.
Like it was like the same tactic. Like
even Professor Stokes said, up to your old tricks, don't you have any new ones? You know, and that's kind of how it felt with her, you know.
Professor Stokes was the shit of the Dream Curse.
If we're ready to talk about him, I could talk about
we will hear in a moment, I promise.
Okay, right on.
I want to touch upon Sam Evans real quick, but I honestly think that you would think a guy who gets his hands burned in the Phoenix Arc would remember, don't fuck with the supernatural, Sam. Yeah. Don't do it. But you know, when you're offered, I put this on Twitter a while back ago. When Barnabas Collins asks you to de-age a portrait and he pays you money, ask questions.
Yes. Even if he says not to, be like, look.
If they're offering you this amount of money for a small job, ask some questions.
Yeah. Like, what's the catch?
It doesn't seem like a big deal, but
this isn't a matter of should you accept cash or check. It's should you just accept the job?
Can you do this?
True.
Well, yeah.
like I have the talent to do this, Barnabas pal, but I'm not sure I really want to, because you know the last time I did a portrait of this woman in fire, my hands got burned burned really bad. I got more set on fire than a stuntman. But with our good pal Thayer David, by God, Professor Elliot T. Stokes.
Yes, buddy. Yes.
What a performance! What did you think of Professor Stokes?
Oh.
What didn't I think? No, I'm kidding.
He was the mad scientist on the other end of the spectrum. Yeah. It was for the macabre, not the science.
Yeah, he was the magic side of it.
Oh my gosh.
He was the expert in the magic, whereas Dr. Lang was the expert in the science. And you know, when we're doing the yin and yang, the science and the magic, here's Professor Stokes, who knows all, isn't quiet, and isn't, you know, private about, you know, knowing all about the occult. Is very hostile towards strangers because he doesn't trust them, but is very all-knowing. And this dream curse was...
But hasn't really had any opportunities to really practice.
To shine. And this dream curse, he absolutely
Oh my God. This was his like real first shining moment in that dream curse. Just defying Angelique and defying the whole purpose of the dream curse. And like I said it in our show, but like Julia was kind of like the first speed bump in the Dream Curse because she fought it.
As much as she could.
But once she relieved herself when Elliot came,
Timothy Elliot.
Thank you.
Timothy
I always
Elliot.
say Elliot, not Timothy. But
either is correct. Either is correct.
But when he came in, and I said it on our show, as nobody has ever fought Angelique and stood up to her until that moment. And
yeah, it wasn't just a speed bump in the Dream Curse. It stopped it dead in its tracks. Yeah, it stopped it. Oh. Because Elliot Stokes.
If not for Elliot, this probably wouldn't have ended.
It would have reached Barnabas.
It would have had its intentions.
And I think Julia finally gave in because she had to get Adam finished. She had to.
That was on her
shoulders. She had to be like 100% focused because if she
and the body was decaying, like they had to finish it. Like,
yeah, the heat was on.
That pressure was on.
But with Timothy, with Timothy Elliot Stokes, man.
But by the time, was it Carolyn that had to tell Stokes? But he was like, "Go to sleep. Just do it. I promise. Just do it."
But before that, before she lays down and goes to sleep, he doesn't use any black magic on her. He literally just suggests to her mind.
Yeah.
Instead of seeing Barnabas, you're gonna see me, and if you don't see me, if you see Barnabas, you're gonna wake up immediately. And it works. It works.
It's kind of like that hypnosis. It's all in the mind. Like, and that's kind
of right back. I'll be right back. Go ahead.
Sure, yeah.
Oh, please.
Sorry.
No worries.
All right, go ahead. You were saying, I'm sorry.
Hold on. I got a break because she.
No, well, to add to what Yinzer are saying is Stokes, you're right. He creates this big stopgap in the Dream Curse. And Julia does fight it for as long as she can. I think really when you look at Julia moving past her dream, it gives you the importance of Lane's death in every way. Because after, you know what I mean? He dies before she finishes her dream, if I'm not mistaken. Because he tells, it's Lane, I think it's Lane tells her, you know, she tells somebody else. But with her, she has to move the dream all along because she doesn't have Eric to rely on.
Right.
And you know,
she's
Eric,
solo.
Yeah, Eric leaves her a message, Julia, if both my creation and Barnabas should live, Barnabas's affliction will be drained into Adam, and Adam will carry the affliction without any of the side effects, which is like, wait, how's that going to work?
But, yeah, that's what I thought too.
Right.
But there's the music. It's like, wait, come back. Don't cut the music. Come back. Wait, can you explain that to me one more time? Because I only have a high school diploma. Please explain this to me.
They did not cover this in high school chemistry. They didn't do it.
No. Not biology, not chemistry.
Nope.
Could you like imagine sitting a high school biology teacher down and showing him Dark Shadows and be like, oh, this is just nonsense. Yeah, but still.
Yes. It's all about the science, man.
Eric Lane made it sound so scientific, and I'm like, man, I wish I was brainy like that because I want to try it.
Because honestly, I swear to you, in this real world, I believe it. Science could overcome if it was here. I believe it.
Yeah, science has come along
because of Dark Shadows. Like, I swear, it's all about the science.
Agreed.
And in many ways, you know, shout out to Mark Gilman. He said this too. The Dream Curse is in every way Nightmare on Elm Street, pre-Nightmare on Elm Street. When you look at the Dream Curse, when you talked about Stokes controlling Carolyn, it's Freddy Krueger-esque in every way. It's sort of the Dream Clinic, pre-Dream Clinic in Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3 Dream Warriors.
Yeah.
So really, really good stuff that they were able to do with this. And I love the effect of the Dream Curse. I love how they did the multiple doors and the difference what was different behind the doors. Each person had their own fear.
Yeah, it felt personal. It felt, and that's where the fear comes. The fear factor comes in. Like, it had to be a little personal. The door you opened for you.
Well,
otherwise it wouldn't be so scary.
When Danielle on Cara of Collinwood discussed this on her when she covered the Dream Curse, her guest, God help me, I don't remember his name and I feel bad, but he was saying he put it in perspective for me. It's like when you're dreaming, anything is possible. Your mind goes anywhere.
You're not lucid. Is that the right word?
You're not lucid unless you're like Professor Stokes, but we're not. And you could literally be afraid of the kitchen table for no good reason because your dream tells you to be.
Yeah.
And but Angelique went so much further and made it personal for every single person.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the one I couldn't really figure out was Maggie Evans. It was just a screaming skull. Maybe that was just to get us going. Maybe that was just to kick it off.
That might have been just Angelique's fear putting in her that, like, oh, you have the same fate as Josette, and that's death. That's literally the only thing I could think of.
But
to make it personal.
But I can kind of make it personal for every other person.
Or maybe it was her father dying. Like, maybe. I mean, it's not what's the word? It's not indulged in. It's just up for interpretation for all of us.
Like I was trying to interpret every single one of those dream sequences for the recipient, and I'm like,
but that one did make the least sense.
Yeah,
like as far as being personal.
And Mrs. Johnson, I think, had a bat or something, and I'm like, well, Barnabas has definitely come at her as a bat, and that probably scared her. But whatever.
She's an old bat. She's an old bat. No, I'm joking.
I don't know.
It's revenge of the bat she tried to cook.
Yes. Yes.
Chase them off in the room.
I have a quick question.
Good.
Who was your favorite in the Dream Curse? Like, who was your favorite? Like
the dream sequence?
Yeah, the dream sequence. What was your favorite dream from her?
Addison Powell's.
Okay.
He's somebody who, before we get to Julia taking over the experiment, you have to get rid of Dr. Lane for Julia to become even. But we know Julia's been an important character so far in Dark Shadows.
Yeah,
but to be even more important, the character's got to go. That character's going to be Addison Powell.
Yeah,
Dr. Eric Lane, I should say. Not Addison Powell, but Addison Powell's an actor. I love his dream. It's really creative, and I love the way he performs it.
Yes.
He's like, his arms are outstretched. It's like he's being pulled with no control of his own. Yes. And it gives if you thought the Dream Curse was just where somebody could control themselves, guess again. Here's Addison Powell sort of being pulled to the door.
Yes.
And it's really, really great. A great job by the actor and the way he sold it.
Yes.
So what's his favorite? Sorry.
Yes. Like, and I love that because I think my favorite was Willie, because I feel like he kind of demonstrated the same way that Lang demonstrated how dreams really feel. Like the way Lang did it, you're just being pulled. You can't control yourself in your dreams. Like, shit just happens. And Lang and Willie, I think, demonstrated that the best. And even as dramatic as it was, and maybe you kind of laughed at it a little, it was real. And that's how dreams feel. And those two did it the best. And that's why Willie is my favorite. But
I don't know quite what we were talking about because I stepped away for a second, but touching on that, on Willie's dream.
Yeah.
I like what he said right before he's nodding off into sleep to have the dream.
Yeah.
He's thinking to himself, he was like, man, that mental hospital, I had some crazy dreams there. And man, those were nightmares. And I had nightmares every single night. But he says, nothing that's going to pale in comparison to the dream I'm getting ready to have.
And that says a lot.
And the way that John Carlin acted it out was flawless. I mean, it was perfect because there were moments of him just on the brink of insanity, laughing and screaming and then laughing again. And it's like, that's what I would expect from Willie Loomis, who has just spent some time in the nut house. And, after all the crap that he went through, after all the nightmares he had in the loony bin, and
and with fear comes the insanity of, I don't know whether to laugh or cry. I'm doing both, but that comes with fear. that's what the dream was. Good observation. Good. Yeah, but.
Well, what's your favorite dream curse? Who was your favorite dream curse?
Thank you.
Which one?
Well, besides the obvious answer, Professor Stokes, because that showdown is fantastic.
Okay, he don't count. Okay.
Well, that's why I said besides the obvious answer, because that one is my favorite because I love
absolutely.
Elliot. But my favorite one, I think, was probably Julia, because of what we talked about when we did the dream curse and what you brought up, what it represented for her, what it could have represented. Now, I was inclined to say that her representation, the
skull
female
with the
skeleton with the bridal, the veil, and the wedding dress.
Wedding dress.
Sorry. I thought maybe it represented because I felt like at this point Barnabas was kind of starting to lose hope. I'm going to revert back to a vampire.
Yeah.
And I felt like I was inclined to think that it represented what Julia feared she might turn into if Barnabas did revert back to being a vampire, because she was a willing victim and she always was a willing victim. And I thought maybe Barnabas would just give up and be like, okay, there's a willing victim here.
Well, and just take her out of spite because it didn't work, because he was that angry.
But that's what she would become. But you brought up the point of her.
And I will stick by it because I think it's really good.
Yeah.
But I do believe that Julia's door, behind her door, it represented her Eve project.
Her solo project.
That's what I think. But
now, to be fair, fan fiction doesn't count because it's not canon. but my good buddy John Philip Betancourt wrote a backstory for Dr. Julia Hoffman in his Return of Dark Shadows.
Okay.
Oh, that counts.
May change your mind.
Okay, let's hear it. I'm ready.
Well, I hate to play spoiler, but I'll have to on this one. In his story, this way later he writes this, because this is at the tail end of his Return of Dark Shadows series. He writes that Dr. Julia Hoffman was married well before she met Barnabas, and she shot accidentally her husband who was cheating on her.
Oh, okay. And
when I think of the bride, the skeleton bride, I think of, well, she was a bride who couldn't keep her husband. In many sense, she was a failed bride.
Oh, wow.
Failed marriage.
I love that, because again, Julia's past is all up for interpretation.
It's a mystery.
It's all, man, y'all get me. Really good.
I thought we was done with the dream curse, but I'm loving exploring it all over again.
That is.
When we get done, there's going to be a lot of links, not just to you guys' channel, but obviously to the Return of Dark Shadows. Shout out to John Philip Betancourt.
Yes, thank you.
But I really enjoyed the entirety of the Dream Curse, though, too, because it more than gives Adam, Robert Rodin's character, his importance as well.
Definitely.
Yes.
Definitely.
Yes.
Because
like as it is, like, it's very enjoyable.
Absolutely. I love the Dream Curse, because I felt like, when Angelique cursed Barnabas the first time around, she opened up her mouth with her last dying breath, supposedly. But this time she when that didn't work and he was still living and looked like he was cured, I mean, Roger even said under his breath to Dr. Lang after he'd been staring into the portrait, "You think it's this easy? It's not going to be this easy, to escape." And so I think because of that, I think Angelique got a little bit vindictive and was like, "Now I'm going to draw it out. I'm not going to just curse you. I'm going to draw it out. I'm going to do a dream curse. Watch." And it's going to start with the woman who looks like the one you love most.
Yeah.
And then before it got to Barnabas, it did go to the woman he loved most. And she held on to it and held on to it and held on to it.
That's what I was saying earlier. I was like, it's like her initial curse. It's like, well, it's going to start with her again, and it's going to end with your demise.
Right.
Because that's my plan. That's what I want.
But she underestimated Vicky. She underestimated her. I mean, Vicky held on to it and held on to it.
God.
And she told her, she was like, "Just so you know, the dream curse will die with me," And then Barnabas, sat her down and was like, "Let's hear it. Come on."
I want to, because you brought up Vicky real quickly, not Long Bunny Trail, but
all right, Andrew.
And I said it before, but like, I feel like Vicky I don't feel like Barnabas was 100% in love with Josette, but Vicky, I think, was the epitome of what Josette, like what he tricked himself into believing 100% about Josette. Vicky was that. You know what I mean?
How he fantasized that Josette was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I love Josette, don't get me wrong, but she was kind of like a spoiled, nose in the air kind of brat. A little bit.
She surely was.
I mean, if you'll hear me, I'm just being blunt about it.
No, go for it.
But Vicky was the epitome of Josette.
Yeah.
She more than Maggie, just because she looked like her, but Vicky was the epitome of what Josette, like what Barnabas thought in his mind and was in love with. But Josette really wasn't that. Vicky was. And I think that's why.
Definitely.
But I don't want to bunny trail too long, but I had to say that. But
a person who will who made a great point too, the point you sort of just made, but made it. Gordon Demowski made a point that when we were doing 1795, he goes, Barnabas is just caving to Joshua marrying Josette, because this is a business transaction for Joshua.
Absolutely.
Barnabas and Josette's wedding. And he even, when you look at that, is that business transaction enough? No, because he's trying to get his brother to marry Millicent.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, you gotta give credit to Lewis Edmonds because it's enjoyable and it's funny. It's like he's already looking at Barnabas and just like, oh, that's in the bag. And then he turns to his brother like, you should marry Millicent. And Jeremiah's like, what? No, I don't want to be married.
Is it that important? Is it that serious?
Yeah, and it, again, I know that Queen Victoria married her cousin, but the only reason he wanted Jeremiah to marry Millicent was because Millicent was loaded because her parents had died.
His money or whatever.
How familiar are you with the history of Jesse James? He married his first cousin.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
Me and Butch were talking about that with the assassination of Jesse James. Great movie, by the way. But with this, there's no. Barnabas does love Victoria, but in loving her, he has to let go of her, and that's sort of what shows too in this arc too.
Yeah.
And Yin's are right. She fights it, and I love Nicholas here, the sly fox, the sly devil. He goes, that's right. She won't go to him, but we'll trick him into coming to her.
Yes.
And Humphrey Allen Australia, you are the man, dude. You are the man.
Chef kiss, baby.
Yeah, cat scratch fever.
Cat scratch fever. That's what I like to call him.
But one of my favorite moments in all of this Dream Curse is when Barnabas finally convinces Vicky to tell him. And Angelique walks in the room and has the nerve to be like, well, what's the matter, Vicky? Angelique gets up and just bitch slaps her right across.
She doesn't say a word. I had to rewind it twice, but just because it was awesome. She doesn't say a word. She just walks out like a boss bitch. It was so cool.
Somebody needs to do like an audio where Julia smacks her and have Jim Ross say, she just opened up a can of whoop ass on her.
Yes. Man.
Brilliant moment by Julia. It just was.
She said nothing and said everything.
Yeah.
It was so good.
So much was said with so little, and it was just the execution was beautiful.
God.
It's a very soap opera moment on a soap opera show, but it comes across so good.
Absolutely, it does.
Yes.
But
that was so funny. That was so cool. I love that scene. It was so good.
Like, Grayson, can you just do the kick in the stomach, give her the stone cold stunner, and just leave her laying?
And she does. You'll be sorry you did that. She almost eye rolls and just walks out of the room.
God.
I love it.
Yeah. And I love Victoria's fault. You deserve a lot worse than that smack.
Yeah.
It's like, yes.
Like standing up.
One of my most favorite moments too in the series, in this arc, is when Cassandra is going up to Adam. She's got the axe. She's ready to drop because she's found out the truth. She's listened to the recording, ladies, and not just the music. She's ready to drop the axe. And there's Nicholas behind her, raising the eyebrow, like, "What do you think you're doing?
What do you think you're doing?"
The fact that she thought she could outsmart Nicholas every turn, it's like, how dumb are you? This isn't blinding love right here. This is just her being dumb.
Yeah, yeah, acting on impulse. Like, no.
Cassandra / Angelique is not a good serial killer. Clearly, she did not take notes from Pamela Voorhees.
Or Dexter Morgan, for that matter.
Like you don't just stand there with the axe. You gotta lower it, girl. But she doesn't get the opportunity, unfortunately. Nicholas lowers the beam. Like, nah, I don't think so.
That's it. You hesitated. That's it.
You hesitated. That's
it.
To steal a quote from Tuco, if you're gonna shoot, don't talk.
Yes.
Don't monologue.
Right, just don't model, just drop the axe. But no, I gotta give Nicholas a lot of credit because there comes to a point where he's had enough of Angelique and he does curse her to get old. And if you can go to Barnabas and convince him to love you, it'll break the spell. Yeah, that ain't gonna happen.
He knew damn good and well that Barnabas wasn't gonna forgive her.
Well, and that's why he's like, you only have an hour.
Yeah.
You better make it happen or you're done. It's like
I can't make it happen in an hour. Well, then just prepare for your demise.
I'm like, well, we'll deal with it at the moment.
Oh my gosh, Nicholas was fantastic. God.
Man. Well, and Nicholas, his ass was on the line because he was pretty much in charge of Angelique.
Well, and there was a bargain that I'm still not entirely sure, but I have my speculations.
It was never fully indulged on, that bargain between the devil and Nicholas and Angelique.
Yeah.
Like, it's up for interpretation.
Like, I think the bargain is that Angelique got to come back and piggyback with Victoria.
And Nicholas's career, if you want to put it that way, with the devil, was on the line.
Yeah.
If he couldn't get her back in line, they were both gone.
Right.
It's all or nothing. Like that.
I think they're simple rules to serving Satan. Stay away from churches. Don't get married, which Angelique broke that. See, that's what got Angelique in trouble. She got married.
Yes.
Yeah.
See, when she got that, Satan's like, really? I turned my back for 1 second, and this woman's gonna get married. You know what? Your marriage is over, chick.
Yeah.
Well, that's why Nicholas, his point at every argument, his point was, oh, you were weak with Barnabas. You gave in to Barnabas. That's why you're weak. But you're right. She got married. She broke the rules.
Yeah. And kept breaking them.
Yeah.
Kept breaking them. I said when we on our show when we did this that Angelique could have the potential to be a all-consuming powerful witch. Probably could have had her own coven if she could have just let go of so many of her human emotions, not just towards Barnabas, Barnabas was obviously a huge part of that. Yeah. But, her love that turned into hatred, but was really just masking the love, if she wasn't so blinded by that, I shudder to think how much hell she could have rained down on people, but
because you bring that up, with the books that Laura Parker wrote, and in the beginning one, they were talking about Miranda when she was on trial, in the very beginning. She had a man, a boyfriend, a man, and she didn't even falter with that guy. She let them just take him and kill him in the book that Laura wrote.
Yeah.
But in that story, she didn't even falter then with that guy. But with Barnabas, she was he was her ultimate weakness. Yeah. I always think about that when I see the Barnabas and Angelique thing, because when you read that book, it's that didn't even face her with her first one. Yeah. I was I don't know.
When you think about what true love is, Angelique truly does love Barnabas.
Yes.
We could.
That's why she's crazy.
Yeah, that's why she's so crazy about it's you're serving the devil, but you're getting married to that dude right there, the Collins guy. Oh yeah, we have problems. It's really cool that they include Satan in this. I love the fact that they literally took us down into hell.
Yes.
I couldn't believe that was like the ultimate for me. I was like, we went all the way there.
Yeah.
I love it. Like, I couldn't believe it.
But before that, like one of the most scary moments was right before that, when, you know, Nicholas is kind of falling into that path too and marries Maggie.
Yeah.
And like the night before.
Yeah.
And
you get a taste of your own medicine, what you've been trying to preach to me.
But all of a sudden his room turns red. Maggie passes out, opens her mouth, and it's the devil's voice coming through. That scared the piss out of me. Oh my God.
Dude.
And then from there, I'm like, holy crap, I can't believe they did that. And then almost the next scene, we're in hell. It's like, what? What is this show? It must have been Sweeps.
It's like we keep going there and going there. I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah, it was incredible.
See, anytime I rewatch Dark Shadows and then I go to church on a Sunday and priest says, hey, what were you watching? Oh, I was watching Dark Shadows. They took us down into hell. It was amazing.
I was in hell last night with Barnabas and all this. I'm like, no,
you know, I've had a couple people at church mention this show to me, and it's like, it's just so weird. And I'm like, I know, that's why we do it.
We're probably gonna burn if we talk about this here. The stuff outside.
Like, it's just fun, you know?
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
I'm an enabler.
That's okay. We'll be there together.
I'm punching my ticket tomorrow. I swear, Satan.
No, tomorrow's Saturday, bro.
Oh, it is,
dude.
Oh my God. No, but I really enjoyed the fact that we got help. Now, Satan is in a robe. He's got these thick glasses. If you watch carefully. Okay, if you could have casted anyone in the 60s to play Satan, who would you have casted?
In the 60s?
Willem Dafoe.
In the 60s?
Yes.
In the 60s? Okay, all right.
Yeah. He's got ultimate villain face, I swear.
Yeah,
I swear.
he does.
No makeup, no nothing, just his face.
I'm thinking, hang on.
What do you think, Joel, while she's thinking?
I always said for the 60s, if they could have done it, if Dan Curtis could have approached him, I would have said the guy that created the Twilight Zone, because he was.
Yeah. Oh, that would have been cool.
That's a good one.
That would have been awesome.
Because he's so smooth. When I picture the devil, I picture someone so charming and yet so evil at the same time. And my devil for the future. Now, he's a very nice gentleman. I've listened to when he had his radio hour, and anytime I've ever interacted with him, he's super nice. He's he's very into horror. He works at Paramount. Justin Bieber, who's got the nicest voice imaginable.
I remember you saying that, and I still have yet to hear that voice, and I need to.
I'll send you an interview with him in it. So
by all means.
This is your stump question of the night.
I kind of, and it's silly, but only because it's completely out of character for him. But I might want to see Adam West do that.
Oh, yeah.
Adam West.
I mean, I don't know, because he's got that kind of voice that's very charming and happy, but
he's very he's got that kind of characteristic that he's unpredictable.
Yeah,
I feel you on that. I feel you on that.
I would have liked to have seen that. You know,
I feel you on that.
But
yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, being such a hero all these years.
Yeah.
I'll give you another name from the 60s who would have fit this perfectly. And he plays the devil. Now, he's long past, but he was alive during the 60s. And he did play the devil in Ghost Rider, Peter Fonda.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
You know who else could have done it? Vincent Price.
Yes.
I mean, that's the obvious answer, but
yeah. Well, there's a movie, I think it's called The Red Mystique or something. I forget what it's called. And he sort of plays dual characters.
That was okay.
Yeah, Vincent Price. Yeah.
Man.
By the way, the original House on Haunted Hill is amazing.
Yes.
If you've never seen it. The remake's good too.
Oh yeah, no, it's not bad at all.
Yeah. Man, that's a good.
Rest of souls.
Man.
With the dream curse and the Adam arc, so Barnabas does not get cursed. He gets bit, and they bury our buddy Barnabas alive.
Yep.
Yes. What are you doing? No, I'm joking.
And they finally figure out, oh, that's right. Adam's still alive, so he can't be cursed.
Right.
Yeah, they got it right in the nick of time. If Julia hadn't, am I right? If Julia hadn't showed up in the cave where Adam was starting to hurt, like Elliot called Julia, right? And she was like, "Oh shit."
Yeah.
And she's like, "I got 30 minutes to get him out of the ground."
She was like, if my calculations are correct, he's got about
30 minutes. She said about 30 minutes.
Yeah, and
maybe
if he's
an hour.
not dead already, and we have to work fast. And Elliot's like, what do you know? What do you know? What do you know? And she was like, no, right now, Barnabas. I'll give you answers later. Right now, Barnabas.
Yeah,
and
Elliot was still kind of in the dark about what Julia and Willie and Barnabas knew.
And he was a little indignant that he had to get on the ground and dig up Barnabas.
He's like, why?
He was like, I don't know how well.
What a nice guy.
I don't know how effective I'll be, but
to put up with this crap and not know anything at the moment.
But he let them know it. When Julia came back for help with something else, he was like, I'm sorry, I can't help you.
Yeah. He's like, you didn't answer my
nothing.
question. You didn't tell me nothing. You run to me when you need help, but you won't tell me
like
anything.
a vending machine. He's like, I can't.
You're going to have to let me in or I'm gone.
Right.
Stokes is so matter of fact. It's so cool, though.
Yeah.
I love, my favorite was when he goes to Barnabas at the old house, and Barnabas is asking about the medallion that protects from witchcraft.
Right.
And Stokes is like, well, I'll show you the medallion. Will you show me the witch?
So, yes, when you show me the witch.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
And nobody did that to Barnabas prior.
And we had literally just met Professor Stokes when that happened. It's like, oh, this guy is not playing around.
Mm-hmm. Like, he knows more than you think. He's the descendant of Ben, and he's been doing these studies for a really long time about the Collinses and the Stokes and their connection and what the heck happened.
Yeah.
He knows more than you think.
Have either of you ever played the game Breath of Fire?
No, I haven't.
Okay, Breath of Fire is a role-playing game for the old Super Nintendo. I know, I'm going way back.
Yeah.
But I loved playing those games, and they always had this shopkeeper that was an expert mage. That's what I feel Professor Stokes is.
Absolutely.
Like, they would tell you every little this spell does this. This does this. This does this. Now give me your goddamn money.
Shut up and take my money. No.
He's our Merlin.
Yeah.
He's like our Merlin in this whole series.
Totally.
But
I really think Barnabas was a pretty decent teacher to Adam, until he decides, well, let's bail Willie out of the crazy house.
Don't make him any crazier than he already is. I mean,
I don't think he was ready, to be honest. I mean,
he said it himself. He's like, I can't do this. I'm out. I'd rather go back to the crazy house.
Yeah.
And then whatever Barnabas, he threatened him with Maggie. And he was like, okay, fine.
He guilt tripped him with Maggie.
But he was ready to go back to the nut house. He was ready to go back.
The only thing that tops Barnabas getting Willie out of the crazy house is Sam Loomis letting Michael Myers escape from the Smith Grove. Okay, that's it.
Yes. Yeah.
So true.
It's like, okay, Willie may not be a serial killer, but you could tell this dude's like, no.
He's not ready. He gets out of the nut house, and the first thing he does is go to Maggie Evans, be like, hey, I wasn't trying to kill you that night. And she's like, get away from me. And Joe has to.
I wasn't trying to kill you before the Collinsport Police Department shot me full of holes more than Swiss cheese.
Oh my gosh. Oh my God.
If you go down to the Collinsport Police Department at the gun range, they have pictures of Willie Loomis. They just shoot him all day.
Target practice. They do.
I told this to my wife. I said, what's so amazing about that sequence is the police are so accurate with their gunfire, they don't hit the glass.
Right. How did they even? Yeah.
They're like the stormtroopers of Dark Shadows.
Well, what it is they were all recruited and recruits of Lamont Cranston, the Shadow, and they're all so he's a crack shot. So like, yeah, we better not miss. So, no, but I really like the return of John Carlin is just a world of fun. I mean, by God,
yeah.
he's
The way he came, like they went to Windcliff to visit Willie, and it's God, that was the turnaround for John Carlin as an actor. Like to right there, just switch it up. Like, is this the same guy? Like Willie, like is this? It was amazing. The sullenness.
It was so different from the Willie Loomis that came onto the show.
Yeah.
And then again, when his whole personality changed once Barnabas got a hold of him, and then again when we see him at Windcliff, he's changed again.
Yeah.
And all of this crap that keeps happening to him, and he hasn't jumped off a bridge yet.
Well, and to bring it up real quickly, talking about Willie within this whole Adam thing, like. We were talking about like when he was teasing him with his food and eating his chicken leg right in front of him and all that. Like the old Willie came out there for a moment.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
I was like,
but Barnabas didn't have a hold on him anymore. So
even when he showed him the jewels, you could see it in Willie's eyes again, like the fascination and just wanting to take him and run, like the jewels, right. And with like teasing Adam with the food. That was the old Willie showing its ugly head for a moment again. Like we hadn't seen that in a while from Willie.
Definitely.
And I was like, but he was still there.
Yeah.
As much of Willie to the end because of his ultimately his loyalty. Like
there's two really distinct Windcliff patients you got to look at and study too. Maggie's insanity, and then finding her sanity, and Willie Loomis's sanity and insanity, and trying to find himself, because really throughout this there is the Adam arc and the Drinkers, but in a lot of ways all these other characters have importance. Willie Loomis is trying to find himself.
Definitely.
Absolutely. And
it's good.
And I feel like, I mean, it takes a long time, but I feel like he does eventually find himself. He finds Willie Loomis, and
I agree.
Stable Willie Loomis, not dirtbag Willie Loomis or traumatized. I mean, he finds.
And you know what? Ironically, and this is just me, but after Barnabas becomes human again, is when ultimately the power over Willie wasn't there. That's when the real loyalty was there, because there wasn't any mind tricks or whatever with Barnabas,
It sure was funny when he tried, though, when Barnabas tried the mind, like when they tell Willie, hey, we're going to have you dig some graves because we got to make a mate for Adam.
He's like, no, I'm not.
He was like, the hell I am.
You can do it yourself.
And then Willie starts at him, we'll send you. Yes, you will, Willie. You're going to do what you're told. He's like, no, I'm not.
That doesn't work on me anymore.
It's funny that Barnabas thought that he could.
Barnabas realized himself in those moments as well. He's like, I don't have the power I used to.
Yeah.
They're catching on to you, Barnabas. You got to, like Angelique, you're still playing that game. You got to try some new tricks.
Yeah, exactly.
That's not working on me anymore.
What did you think of Adam and Carolyn's relationship?
It was a sad one, I thought, because Carolyn.
Just because Adam, he learned a lot of things so quickly, and the only thing that nobody could show him was the romantic love that he thought he felt for Carolyn. The only way he learned that was through a book, through reading, through literature. Like no person in life physically could show him how to love another person romantically. And I feel like I lost my train of thought. I lost my train of thought on that.
What I find interesting about first of all, that Adam feels this primal instinct. It's written in his makeup, even though he's an artificially made man.
Yeah.
To have feelings for someone.
Yeah.
of the opposite sex. I hope I don't get taken down for that. Sorry. But I'm so sorry. But I almost lost my train of thought too. But the fact that he felt it for Carolyn, but not for Julia, because Carolyn wasn't the first female that didn't show fear towards Adam,
but she's the only female that showed him reciprocated respect and, in a sense, love, as far as like a friendship.
True.
Like the only other woman that showed him any kind of friendship. And because he didn't have another man showing him that physically, he just read it in a book like it's supposed to happen.
Very true.
He just took that and ran.
Because Professor Stokes wouldn't have showed him about love. He didn't care about that.
I was never all about Adam and Carolyn being a romantic thing.
No.
But she was the ultimate best friend to Adam.
Yeah.
And that was where the true love lied for me, in my eyes. Like, and that beat all.
Yeah, I agree.
But he just didn't have he didn't know anything else but the literature that taught him about romantic love.
Yeah.
He just couldn't understand that. That's why, he was forcing himself on Carolyn, you know.
Definitely.
No man was showing him physically how to do that. He just read it. And, romance is all,
it's romanticized.
It's romanticized. That's my outlook on it.
I don't think they would have made a good couple in the long run. I just don't.
Yeah. But she showed him more love than anybody.
Yeah, I think she showed him what love looks like. Like,
especially after she was captured and stuff. Like, she just totally wrote that off and continued to be his friend and help him, like a true friend would. Not a girlfriend, but a friend.
Like even offered to be the life force for his mate.
I almost forgot about that.
So I don't know.
What do you think, Joel?
Carolyn is somebody who wants to show somebody friendship. I mean, look at her and Vicky. Look at her and Joe. Definitely. So this is a repeat trend, but it's times 12 here, because here's a man she doesn't know who did have her in his little, whatever you want to call it, shack or whatever it was. But she lets that all go and decides, you know what, this guy needs a friend, and I'm going to be his friend. Now, she doesn't have any interest from him from a love standpoint. I agree with that. Life isn't about. Whisper of the Heart explains this too. One of my favorite romantic movie. It's not about fairy tales. It's about being there for one another and then finding love. Adam feels he found love because he read it in a fairy tale. It's a fairy tale.
Absolutely.
No one teaches him that. He has to learn that the hard way.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's where Dark Shadows is very, for all its supernatural, Dark Shadows is very adult. And we're sort of seeing that through Adam too, because he has to learn to be an adult.
Yeah.
In every way. He learns from many different people. He learns from Barnabas. He learns from Professor Stokes. He unfortunately learns from Humphrey Delano Stratus' character.
Yeah.
But he has to learn from so many different people. And then
very quickly.
Right. The ultimate, now he has to make his own choices.
Right.
And he makes a choice to leave on neutral terms, which is one of the most interesting characteristics of Adam.
And honestly, I don't think anybody taught him that in the end but Carolyn. Honestly.
Yeah. I really enjoyed Robert Rodin's performance. What did you think?
Yeah, loved it. It was awesome. Aside from just being a good candidate to play the monster, I hate saying that Adam's a monster because I don't think that he is, but for the sake of it being Frankenstein's monster, I thought he was a good candidate just because of the way he looked. Very tall man, lanky, great big old hands. But aside from that, Robert Rodin, the emotion that he portrayed playing Adam when he didn't understand what was happening to him. He didn't understand the thunderstorm outside, so he was terrified. He didn't understand why Barnabas betrayed him and beat him with the cane. He was, I mean, just the facial expressions alone, because he wasn't supposed to know any words yet. You know, I thought Robert Rodin was fantastic. All of those emotions that needed to show on his face because he wasn't supposed to be able to say anything yet. And then when he could articulate, you know, he was.
For me, kind of in a sense, like with Adam, every time I watch Adam, I kind of, I think of Forrest Gump, you know, like the innocent mind and the childlike mind way of thinking in a way at sometimes, like, that's how I kind of think of, like, of Adam. Like, it's all, it's hard for me to put into words now, but like I can always kind of think of the Forrest Gump as in like a full grown man, but still having that so much, like kind of like that child like view of things, like yeah, like that's how I thought of Adam, and I don't know, you can't really dislike Adam. I mean, I loved Adam. I really did.
Yeah,
I did. And I was telling it to Christen in the car today. I was like, thank God for Sam Evans and Professor Stone.
yeah.
Like, because to learn all of that in such a short time, like,
Definitely.
and if it wasn't for Nicholas Blair, he might have been okay.
Yeah,
He might have been okay.
I felt like Adam was on an excellent path with
learning
Sam Evans,
very quickly, and
then with Professor, and then all it took was Nicholas Blair coming in and being his charming self and
just manipulating,
convincing Adam that I'm your friend, and oh, friends, you know, friends help each other, and I'm here to tell you, I'm here to help you, and you know, if you want something, just take it, be maniacal, do what it takes.
And he didn't make that move on that forceful move on Carolyn until he had that chat with Nicholas.
Yeah.
Well, if you want it, take it.
Yeah,
like
I mean, Nicholas was very clever that way, and in a way that Adam bought it.
But it just totally warped, like a childlike mind, and just made it in an aspect kind of another evil thing.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, he was supposed to be the beginning of the race of an evil,
and that's why Nicholas was like, "Yo, use this girl for Eve," because she's like he wanted another him on it.
Yeah.
I mean, he was just trying to create another minion for the devil.
Yeah.
In my eyes,
that's exactly what you.
And that's why he did that with Eve too. The most evil woman on earth, resurrect her as Eve.
Well, that's exactly what he was trying to accomplish with the man-made.
And after Adam left, I mean, I don't know. Well, he didn't leave yet. They were making Eve, but
yeah.
I'm sorry.
Carolyn, or sorry, not yeah, Maggie Evans. I'll get the character right. That's right. Maggie Evans remembers everything Barnabas does to her during the experiment. Barnabas smashes the machine. But prior to that, I love a lot of, before we get to the destruction of Nicholas Blair and the biggest smile Jonathan Frid ever gave was Barnabas. I really love how Eve is just totally ignoring Nicholas, totally ignoring Adam. Marie Wallace just steals scenes, and it's criminally underrated.
Completely.
And it's like when she came to life, she didn't need any teachings. Like she was there. Like, which again, I might want to give props to Julia. It might just been just a little bit of tweak in her technique that things attached better than they did with Adam.
I don't
know.
I think the difference is that Barnabas was supposed to be Adam. That's how Lang had intended it to be.
Yeah.
But instead, I like to think that, you know, because Barnabas and Adam both lived, they split Barnabas's life force down the middle. So now Barnabas has got this branch of himself, but it's like a brand new baby. But with Eve, it was an evil Danielle Roget. She was the evilest woman alive, but she was already dead. She was just embodying this.
Well, and you know, in the middle of the experiment with Barnabas and Adam, you know, there was that little hiccup where they're like, oh my God, turn the machines off. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Maybe that was the hiccup that didn't happen with Eve. Maybe that was the hiccup with Adam being childlike and Eve totally being with it when she woke up. She was like, I'm ready to go.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, maybe that was the tiny hiccup. It was the first time around.
Yeah.
It was still experimental with Adam. So
Definitely.
maybe that was the hiccup.
This is going to be a weird comparison. Before I get to the comparison, though, when you take a soul and someone has an evil soul and that soul has nowhere to go, and now the soul goes into a living person. Now you have this full mature soul that knows what life is, knows what life was, and now they're getting another chance. They're going to cause all sorts of hell for you. There was a ghost story I was listening to. It's scary shit. There was these campers in the woods, and some of the campers were disrespecting the wilderness, and the one friend's like, knock it off.
Yeah.
So late at night, he got up to go to the bathroom, and he saw somebody watching him from a distance. And the person kept getting closer and closer and closer. He turned on his light, and here was this girl that they were camping with, his friend's girlfriend. He's like, what are you doing? Like, do you need help? And the girl answered him, but she was mimicking him. She wasn't really answering. And he's like, get out here. Your girlfriend's acting weird. He opens up the camp. He goes, what are you talking about? She's right here.
Oh, no.
So it's a real scary story. But when he looked back, the figure was gone. He figured this was a warning from the woods from how his friends were acting, which is scary shit. But with this, you have an evil soul. So inhabiting the body, and you see what a full mature soul, evil soul, can do. You sort of get some of the sense with Evil Dead as well, where an evil sort of, soul inhabits a normal body.
Yeah.
Like a skinwalker.
Yes. Yeah. I saw some of those in Harry Dresden, the dress.
Yes.
And it literally just popped in my mind in the last second, but maybe also the hiccup with Adam and Barnabas, like, it's literally just my thought, but like Barnabas is like urged to just start all over.
Yeah. And really,
I don't know. It's just literally a random theory.
Like anything is possible in science. Anything is possible in magic. Like it could be anything. But
I would like to believe that Barnabas just wanted to start over, and that's what was in his mind when the transfer was trying to happen. And
a really important life lesson: do not let a Willie Loomis, who's fresh from a mental institution, babysit your child.
No, he was completely the wrong person.
He was fresh off the funny farm.
Fresh off the funny farm, yes.
Like, he might not be the best candidate to help you.
Totally.
But he was the only choice.
Yeah.
He was the only choice. If you would have got Victoria Winters to do it, it'd have been fine.
See all the reformation she brought to David, man? She would have had Adam in shape in no time.
Please. Right?
Like, I just tamed the spawn of Satan. I mean, Roger Collins.
Truth. Oh my God.
He even pretty much said it about his own kid. He was like, dude, this little kid's a little demon.
Yeah.
Like,
if David is my son. No.
If he is my kid. It's obvious he is.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
When your own son takes out the bleeder valve and tries to kill you by a car accident, that's love. That says love right there.
I mean, that say it all. Like,
is there anything you ladies want to add about the dream curse, about the Adam arc?
Is there something we didn't talk about?
We talked this to death, and then brought on Patrick and talked it to death some more, and now we're talking it to death some more.
It was kind of like a 5-parter almost.
That's why we took so many months off, because we were burned out on the dream curse.
I needed to sleep after the dream curse, okay? Like, no.
Oh my gosh.
Is there anything we didn't touch on?
I'm sure there is, but I'm not sure it's worth.
And I'm sure we'll talk about it again.
Oh yeah, anyway. I'm sure we will. I'm sure we will.
Nothing that comes to mind at the moment.
I don't think so either.
I love the Dream Cruise discussion, though. I love talking it to death.
Our next episode is going to be the beginning of Julia's solo project.
That's right. So that's where we're picking up.
That's what we're working on now. So,
what are you ladies doing next Sunday?
Next Sunday.
What's the date?
Nothing, as far as I know. What's the date? The end of May.
End of May.
Nothing, I don't think.
Well, great, because you could do a time travel episode with me, Patrick McCray, and Gordon Demowski. We're gonna have a mega episode.
Please.
I'm there. Let's do it.
Please. Where do I start?
Time travel, parallel time. Lots of I don't think I'm gonna talk. I think I'm just gonna ask questions and listen.
Well, you ask the best questions.
That's true.
That's
why you got the obligatory "damn you, Jewel" earlier.
You stump me every time.
well listen.
Nothing like possible.
Mother's Day weekend, I got eight people to ask. I asked them, "Have you ever seen Dark Shadows?" And then 3 people today at Walmart, plus the pharmacist. And my wife's standing right there. She's just shaking her head. She goes, "God damn you!" So I got it twice today. So I'm used to the goddams. I married a mountain woman. Anyway.
Hey, Julie. Love you, Julie.
Love you, Julie. My girl.
I'll tell you, I can't take him anywhere. And she really can't. My wife can't take me anywhere. When she takes me anywhere, I think my wife thinks about getting one of those shock collars anytime I talk. Just hit the button. Hit the button. If you gonna say about Dark Shadows, most likely. Listen, links to Between the Shadows, a Dark Shadows podcast is definitely going to be in the description box. Link to The Return of Dark Shadows, written by John Philip Betancourt, is going to be in the description box. Ladies, it's been a blast. I will see you Sunday night next weekend.
Yes, sir.
See you Sunday night.
Jewel. Thank you.
Thank you, Jewel.
Take care and enjoy the rest of your weekend.
Yes, you too.
Bye. Bye. Bye.